everybody, today we're going to be making the Jack in the Box Hope Edition hat, BTS's J-Hope's hat. And what we need is some white yarn and a 5.5mm hook. If you are on YouTube right now, please subscribe and like my channel. That would be much appreciated. And also I'm on Instagram at Made by Canna. I'm on Facebook at Made by Canna. I'm on TikTok at Made by Canna. Please, I would appreciate any kind of support you could give me. And also, if you'd like this pattern, the paid pattern is on Etsy, madebycanna.etsy.com. You can get the full pattern there. So to start, we're going to chain 50. So it's pretty straightforward. Generally, I would suggest you use one hook size larger to start the chain, so like a 6mm hook, but I'm just going to keep my 5.5mm hook and chain a bit looser so that the piece is not too small at the chains. So 50 is a long ways. I will meet you back at the end of 50 chains. Okay, so here is my 50 chains, a chain of 50. So this is going to be the back side of the hat. As we progress, I'll show you what I mean by that, but this is the seam that goes vertically along the back of the hat. So according to my pattern, round 2, or row 2 I should say, is so we're doing the moss stitch pattern, also known as the linen stitch pattern, which is each moss stitch is single crochet and chain 1. So we're going to single crochet, chain 1, skip a stitch, single crochet, chain 1, and skip a stitch. I'm going to do that 24 times, and then at the end we're just going to do 2 single crochets. So after the chain, we always start at the second loop from the hook. So this is the 50th chain. We're going to start at this one here. So if this is the first chain from the hook, this is the second chain from the hook. So we do a single crochet, chain 1. Then we're going to skip this next chain, single crochet, chain 1, skip stitch, single crochet, chain 1, skip stitch, single crochet, chain 1, skip stitch, single crochet, chain 1. Oops, didn't do that one very well. So a note, when we're making wearables, items and pieces that we wear on our body versus say amigurumis or any kind of accessories. Amigurumis, also known as the plushies that are very popular right now, you want to crochet very tightly so that the polyester stuffing doesn't show through. But for wearables, you want it more or less kind of drapey to I don't know, so it looks better when you're wearing it versus a stiff fabric. So you always want to you always want to crochet a little bit looser and not crochet too tightly, otherwise the gauge will be off and it won't fit. The hat will end up being too small. which is not what we want. Okay. So we did a chain of 50 in the beginning, and because we're doing single crochet, chain 1, skip stitch, we're doing this 24 times. And the last 2 chains, we're going to do 2 single crochets. We're almost at the end there. Okay, so I have 1, 2, 3 chains left. I have chained 1. I'm going to skip this one, and I'm going to do a single crochet. That's 1 single crochet, and then 2 single crochet at the very end. Okay. So we're going to do this a total of 11 times. So that was the first row. We're going to turn our work, and we're going to, so a lot of people are used to chaining 1 at the end of a row. It's my preference not to, but for this pattern, if you'd like, you can chain 1 and turn, but I, for whatever reason, don't like to. So I'm just going to crochet directly into that first stitch. And then after you've done your first single crochet, chain 1, you're going to, so you know how we did the chain 1 in the previous one? It gives you a chain 1 space. So we're going to crochet right into that chain 1 space from now on. And this is our moss stitch. So single crochet, chain 1, single crochet, chain 1. The moss stitch is a very nice stitch. It gives you a bit more drape when you wear an item, and also it gives a nice texture, and also it works up a little bit faster than if you were to do all single crochets, which is something I like because I don't like to feel like I'm taking forever while working on my crochet work. I don't have much patience, so I like to get my items done as fast as I can. Preferably a one-day project, not a multi-day project. But if you're a beginner, don't worry. It takes time sometimes in the beginning if you're not a fast crochet. I'm not too fast of a crocheter because if I go too fast or I'm not thinking, I miscount or I make mistakes, and then you gotta frog it and rip it all out, and then it's a pain because then you have to backtrack. Okay, so we're at the last. This is a single crochet, a chain 1, and single crochet, chain 1, and then we have the chain space here. That's the second last single crochet, and then the last single crochet is through both loops of that single crochet. So this is our second row. We're going to proceed with the third row, and so we're going to do this like a total of 11 times. So we've done 2. This is our third row. We're going to do another 9, including this one. So I'm going to quickly go through these 11 rows, and I will meet you back at the end of the 11th row. All right, so excuse me. I think we're at the end of our 11th row. Chain one, and then the last two single crochets. Okay, let's count together to make sure we've got the 11 rows. So the moss stitch has these really pretty V's. These V's here. So it makes it a little bit easier to count the rows versus other stitches. So I'll start from the top here. Make sure you can see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Or you can count diagonally. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So that's 11 rows. And then the next row, we're going to do the same thing, but we're going to start to increase the length of the fabric. So same thing, we're going to do this 24 times, but instead of the last 2 stitches being 2 single crochets, it's going to be a little bit different. So I'll meet you at the end of that. Okay, so we're almost at the end of this most recent row. I thought before we continue I would do the gauge swatch with you guys, because the different brands of yarn, different colors of yarn, different crochet hooks can give you so much variability in the end piece that you create. And not to mention, everybody crochets with different tensions, so it's always important to do a gauge swatch. So I'm going to measure 4 inches at the start here, 1 moss stitch. So I'm going to count the V's. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So 4 inches is 8 moss stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And we have 3 inches. 3 inches is 12 rows. 3 inches is 12 rows. Because this is our 12th row of moss stitch. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So 3 inches is 12 rows of this moss stitch. The hat that I'm making is kind of a standard size for 21 to 22 inch head circumference. Okay, moving along. We're going to finish this row 12 until the last 2 stitches. Okay, so then we chained 1, and then this chain space here is the second last stitch. So what we're going to do is, instead of doing 2 single crochets in the last 2 stitches, we're going to do a single crochet, a chain 1, and then a single crochet in the last stitch. So basically, instead of 2 single crochets, we did a single crochet, chain 1, and single crochet. And then we're going to chain 2. Okay. Then we're going to turn our work. So this is going to become an extra moss stitch so that we're increasing our length in our work. So then in the second loop from the hook, this is the first loop, this is the second loop, we're going to start our moss stitch. So same thing, single crochet, chain 1, skip stitch. This is the first single crochet, chain 1, skip the stitch. So then we have our first, because the last 2 stitches earlier we had a chain 1, so we're going to crochet into that chain 1 space and all the way to the end. Now at the end of this row, it's going to have 2 single crochets in a row. And I can explain how you know when to do which, whether the chain 1 at the end of the row versus 2 single crochets at the end of the row in just a second. Once we get to the end, I'll explain. Okay, so this is the end of this. What is this? I lost count, but this is the last 2 stitches, so 2 single crochets. Okay, there we go. So we're working vertically along, this is the top of the head, and then this goes down your head towards your neck, if that makes sense. So we're working vertically versus horizontally. We're working vertically. So the ear flaps at the ears, that's what we're doing here by increasing. This is this initial 50 chains. This was the seam at the back of your head. Now we're working on increasing from now on for the ear flaps, which are really long. So at the top, we will always have 2 single crochets because we want this flat. We don't want any increases. At the bottom is where we do the single crochet, chain, single crochet, and then 2 extra chains to continue increasing it. I hope that makes sense. Okay. So if we're counting the rows of moss stitches again, done 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 rows of moss stitch. So including the first 50 chains, that's 15 rows, 14 rows that we've done. We're now on to row 15, if you're following the pattern. We do this all the way to the end, again, the moss stitch, single crochet, chain 1s. And at the end, we do the same thing and do single crochet at the end where it's the last 2 stitches, we do single crochet, chain 1, single crochet, and then 2, and then chain 2. So 2 extra chains at the end in order to increase the length by 1 moss stitch. I'm trying to be as clear and concise as I can, but I apologize if it's more confusing than it should be. Oh, well, if you guys have questions, I am more than happy to answer questions. If you leave questions in the comments, I'll try my best. So we've done the single crochet chain 1, and then this is the last chain space. So we're going to do single crochet, chain 1, and single crochet, so that's the last stitch, and then chain 2, 1, 2. Now we're on to row 16 of the pattern. Row 16 of the pattern, and then same thing. And whenever you have chains, you always start at the second chain from the hook. So 1, 2. We go into the second one. So single crochet, chain 1, skip that first stitch and go into the chain space. Single crochet into the chain space. And then we do the same thing. Single crochet, chain 1, moss stitch all the way to the top of the hat. Oops. Earlier I mentioned that if you, what did I say? Earlier I mentioned that you can chain 1 when you turn. It might be a good idea not to, now that I'm thinking in hindsight, because it might get confusing with the extra chains at the bottom where we're increasing versus the top of the hat where we're not increasing. And the reason that the reason why I crochet, oh my gosh, what am I trying to say? The reason why I don't do a chain 1 before I turn is because, look, it's a really nice straight edge when you don't do a chain 1 at the end. So that, I really like it. It only works for single crochet. If you're doing a double crochet, it doesn't work. Okay, so this is the last 2 stitches. I've just done a single crochet, chain 1, and we're going to do 2 single crochets. 1, 2. And I have opted for not doing a chain 1 at the top for my flat edge. Turn, and then we're going to do the same thing. Going back down again. Okay, so we've just finished row 16, and we're going to move on to row 17 of the pattern. And at the end here, we've done 2 increases, 2 single moss stitch increases. So 1 increase here and 1 increase here. So it's 1 moss stitch increase per row. At the end of row 17, this next row, we're gonna chain 56. So this is this is the bottom of the neck. This is the top of the head. This is the bottom of the head, and we're going to go down where the long ear flaps are going to be. So that's why we're doing the 56 chains at the end of row 17. So we're going to do our usual single crochet chain ones. Okay, we're at the second last chain space from the end. So single crochet chain one. Now this is the last chain space. So we're going to do, because we're increasing, we're doing a single crochet chain one, single crochet. And then we're going to do the 56 chains that I mentioned earlier. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 51, 52, 53, 54, 55, 56. Okay. Moving on to row 18. We're going to do the same thing. Second chain from the hoop, from the hook. Single crochet, chain one, and crochet the moss stitch all along this long chain. So that's single crochet, chain one, skip a stitch, single crochet, chain one, skip a stitch. Single crochet, chain one. So we finished the chains, so we just did the single crochet chain one. We're going to skip this and go into this next stitch, which is the chain space, and it's going to be straightforward, just as we've been doing along the hat. And we're at the top of the hat again, so 2 single crochets, and turn. Now we want to repeat this for 11 rounds. So a total of 11 rounds, including this one. So this is our first row of moss stitches. We have to do another 10, and we're done with the increasing. So when you get to the end of here, this last chain space and last single crochet, we do 2 single crochets, single crochet through the chain space and single crochet at the very end. At the top, same thing, we will do a single crochet and single crochet, no more increases, no more chain ones at the end. So, and do that for 10 more times for a total of 11 rows of the moss stitch for the width of the ear flap. So single crochet, chain 1. It's the pattern is a pretty straightforward pattern once you get the hang of it. And I'm so happy that I created this pattern for all the army worldwide to wear this cute Hobi Jack-in-the-Box Hope Edition hat. It's so cool to share my crochet patterns with you guys. If you make this hat and post on social media, please tag me. I would love to see your work. Again, I mentioned earlier, you can tag me on Instagram at Made by Canna. You can tag me on Facebook at Made by Canna. You can tag me on TikTok at Made by Canna. Would love to see your work. Okay, we're working along the chain now, so nothing changes. Still crocheting in the chain space. Make sure you, again, don't crochet with a tight tension. Usually looser the tension is better. Yeah, I don't know. If your tension is too tight, I suggest going up a hook size. If you have to, like, if you can't control it and your stitches are tight no matter what, increase your hook size by 1 or 2 hook sizes. I should have mentioned that earlier when we were doing the Guage swatch. I think this pattern is pretty beginner friendly. Maybe advanced beginner, because to me a beginner can make like something simple like a scarf. A hat is a little bit more advanced, so advanced beginner. With this video, I think you guys can do it. Okay, we're at the end. This is the last chain space, so 2 single crochets. 1, 2. And then we work back up from the bottom of the ear flap to the top of the head. Okay, I'm going to keep going, and I will take your time, and I will meet you at the end of the 11 rows of moss stitches for the ear flap. That will take us to the end of row 28 of the pattern. Okay, so if you're following the pattern, this is the last 2 stitches of row 28. I'm going to do 2 single crochets there. Now the pattern changes a little bit. Row 29, we're going to go all the way to the, sorry, let me see here. We're going to do this 23 times. So count 23 single crochets. 23 single crochet, 23 moss stitches, sorry. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, chain 1. So that was 23 moss stitches. And then after 23 moss stitches, we do one more single crochet and then we turn. So if you count them, this first stitch, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, and then the last single crochet. Now we turn our work and we're on row 30, and we're going to skip this first stitch, and then we're going to do 6 slip stitches. Okay, so skip this one. I'm going to do 6 slip stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So this is us gradually going up to the forehead of the hat. So after 6 slip stitches, we're going to single crochet in this next chain space, single crochet, chain 1, and go all the way up to the top of the hat. This is row 30 of the pattern. Last 2 stitches are 2 single crochets. There we go. Okay, turn our work. And then now we're on row 31. We're going to do 18 moss stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, and 18. So 18 moss stitches ending with a chain 1, and then after the 18 moss stitches we're going to do 1 single crochet and turn. So now we're on row 32. We're going to skip this first stitch, and then we're going to crochet 1 single, we're going to skip this first stitch and basically start with 1 single crochet in the chain space and go all the way up to the top of the hat. Guys, we're almost halfway done the hat. So, good job, good work if you've followed along so far, and we're now almost done half of the hat. You'll know because, we're working up to the middle of the front of the hat. Okay, and then 2 single crochets at the top. Okay, and then we are going to go down to the bottom, from the top of the head to the forehead. This is row 33, and we're going to single crochet, chain 1. We're going to do 17 moss stitches, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, and 17. Ending on the 17th moss stitch with that chain 1, and then we're going to do 1 single crochet before we turn. Now we're going to again skip this first stitch and then go straight into the chain space with a single crochet and a chain 1 and repeat to the top of the hat. The last 2 single crochets at the top. Okay, if you're following along on the pattern, we've now just finished row 34, and And the next 18 rows will be 16 moss stitches and 2 single crochets at the bottom, at each end. So 16 moss stitches, 2 single crochets. So we're not increasing and we're not decreasing. It's going to go straight across the forehead. So the shape kind of looks like this now. This was the back of the head, which is a bit longer. Now we're moving to the front of the head, and it's going to do this like arch like this over the forehead. So we're going to do 18 rounds of this. Without any increases or decreases, which means we always end the row with 2 single crochets. And if you're counting them, it's going to be 16 moss stitches. 16 moss stitches and 2 single crochets at the end for a total of 18 rounds. Okay, so this is my last 2 stitches. So these were the last 2 stitches, and then we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. 16 more stitches and 2 single crochets. Do that another 17 times, and then I'll meet you back there. So I have finished so I finished all of the 18 rounds. So that's the end of 18 rows, sorry. 18 rows, and that's finishing row 52 of the pattern. This is the ear flap. If you want to count, this is our initial chain 52. Sorry, chain 50. You can count starting with the first row, which is the chain 50. So that's 1. And then you can count all the V's all the way up to this last row, and it should be 52. In case you want to double check that you didn't miscount the 18 rows. So now, oh, and also by the end of the 18 rows in this section, you should be ending at the top of the hat. Should end up the top of the hat. So if you're down here, that means you've either done an extra row or you have not finished the full 52 rows. And sorry, I don't know if I'm confusing. From beginning to right now, that's 52 rows. The repeat in this section here, this was 18 rows of the repeat. So now we're at the very top, and we're going to turn our work. And now we're doing an increase on the other side of the head towards the second ear flap. So we're more than half done now. We're going to do 16 moss stitches. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Single crochet, chain 1. So we're at the last chain space. We're at the last chain space now. With the last chain space. And then we're going to do an increase here. So we're going to single crochet in that last chain space, chain 1, and then single crochet in the last stitch. Just like previously when we did an increase at the bottom of the hat. And then we're doing chain 2 and turn. Starting from the second loop from the hook, we're doing 17 moss stitches. So 1, 2, that's single crochet, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. And then we're at the last 2 stitches. Here's the last chain space and the last stitch. So the last 2 stitches. Oops, I forgot to chain 1. Okay, and then so 2 single crochets at the end. It's always, always, always 2 single crochets at the top of the hat. And then we're going to turn. And now we're at row 55. So repeat that. We're going to do 17 moss stitches again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, and 17. So this is again our increase at the bottom of the hat. This is at the forehead of the hat, and this is the last chain space. So we're going to do single crochet, chain 1, single crochet instead of 2 single crochets. We're doing single crochet, chain 1, single crochet. So we've done another increase, and now we're going to chain 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then we're going to do moss stitches all the way to the top again, starting from the second chain from the hook. And if you're counting, it's a total of 19 moss stitches with 2 single crochets at the top end. You don't have to count for this one because you're gonna crochet all the way to the end of this one. But if you're afraid of missing a stitch or adding a stitch by accident, by all means you can count 19 moss stitches until the very last 2 stitches, and then 2 single crochets. And then turn. Now we're at row 57, and we're going to do 19 moss stitches all the way down. Basically until the last 2 stitches. Basically crochet moss stitches all the way until the last chain space. It's the same type of increase we did for the other ear flap. So this is the last chain spaces, and if you count, there should be 19 moss stitches. And then we're going to do the same increase. We're going to single crochet, chain 1, and single crochet. Okay, so this is the we're still on row 57. So we did 19 moss stitches, and then we did a single crochet, chain 1, single crochet. Now we're going to do 6, chain 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then turn. Now we're on row 58, and we're going to do in the second loop from the hook, that's 1 moss stitch, 2, 3, 4, 5, and go all the way up to the top, which will be 22. It'll be 22 moss stitches and 2 single crochets at the end. So that was 22 moss stitches and then the last 2 single crochets at the very top. Okay, that was round 58. Now I keep saying round. I usually make amigurumis. It's row. Okay, row 59. 1 moss stitch. Row 59, we're going to do 22 moss stitches with an increase at the end. So just go ahead and do 22 moss stitches, or basically crochet your moss stitches until the last chain space. Okay, this is the last moss stitch ending with a chain 1, and then this is the last chain space where we're going to do a single crochet, a chain 1, and a single crochet. And then so this is where we increase the ear flap. 64. Just a quick note, you may see it's a bit jagged, but don't worry. Once we're finished the whole piece, we're going to crochet a border around the whole thing, and you won't. This will go away. So I'll meet you at the end of 64 chains. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 62, 63, 64. Okay, 64 chains. Now we're on row 60. We're going to crochet back up, and if you're counting, it will be 54 moss stitches and then 2 single crochets at the end. Starting at the second loop from the hook, 54 moss stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 51, 52, 53, and 54 moss stitches, and then 2 single crochets at the end, which is at the top of the hat. Because of the way the hat increases and decreases, you will look and see that it's not the same on both sides, but this is the closest I could get to a symmetrical arch. So this is the top of the hat, this is your forehead, and then your face is right here. So we're going to single crochet a border around here, so you won't notice this jagged edge. So that's also the reason why on the first ear flap it was a chain of 56. We chained 56 on this side, and then on this side we chained 64. So it seems like it's not the same, but this was to accommodate for the different the difference in both sides, in case you were wondering why it's wonky like that. Okay, now we're at the top, and this is the fun part, where we're going to do another 10 rounds, so another 10 rows, which will be 11 rows of moss stitches, just like we did 11. This is 11 rows of moss stitches on that side. We're going to do 11 rows of moss stitches on this side, and we've done one already, so we're going to do another 10 rows and just moss stitch all along the whole thing, and then we're not increasing, so at the very end here do two single crochets, single crochet in the chain space and single crochet in the last stitch. I will go ahead and start that, and I will meet you back at the end of the 11th row of this ear flap. Okay, we're at the last few stitches of this row. Okay, my kids are playing and they're noisy. Okay, we're at the last two stitches, so chain 1 and chain 2. So this is the end of the 10 rows for the second ear flap, and we're at the very top of the hat. This is the top of the hat, the bottom of the ear flap. And if you count from the beginning to this last row, it is the end of row 70. So if you're counting to make sure you have the right amount of rows, it's row 70. Next, we're going to do row 71, and it's going to be 27 moss stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 3, 4, 5, 26, and 27 moss stitches, ending with a chain 1. So then we do one more single crochet. So that's 27 moss stitches and 1 single crochet. Now we're crocheting back up. This is row 72. We're going to skip this first stitch and go into the second, which is the chain space. And we're going to do 26 moss stitches, which is just whatever. You don't have to count this one because you just go to the very top and do 2 single crochets at the end. And we're almost at the last stitch. Okay, last 2 stitches, which is 2 single crochets. Okay, turn your work. Now we're going back down the ear flap on row 73, and it's going to be 26 moss stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 22, 23, 24, 25, and 26 moss stitches. So we're at the last two stitches, and we're just going to do, so we did 26 moss stitches ending with the chain one, and we're going to do one last single crochet in that chain space. So we're leaving one stitch unworked. Turn your work, and we're going to go back up. So right now we're doing the back side of the hat, which means yay, we're almost done, like really soon. So that was row 73. We're gonna do row 74 now. What happened here? Oh, 74. Okay. Oops. Okay, so that was end of row 73. So row 74, we're going to skip this first stitch and go straight into the chain space. And it's going to be a total of 25 moss stitches with 2 single crochets at the end. Okay, and this is the last 2 single crochets. I don't know if you hear that, but my kids are fighting. Okay. Okay. We are going back down with 25 moss stitches, row 75. So 25, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 21, 22, 23, 24, and 25 moss stitches. And we're going to do 1 single crochet in the last chain space, and then we're going to turn. Now we're on row 76, and we're going to go right into that chain space. So that's 1, 2, 3, 76. There's going to be 24 moss stitches with 2 single crochets at the end. And 2 single crochets at the end. Okay, so this was 24 moss stitches and 2 single crochets at the end. The next 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. The next 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. We're going to do 12 more rows of 24 moss stitches ending with 2 single crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Yeah. And we're going to end on row 88 which is going to be at the top of the hat. And then we're going to be done. So no more increases, no more decreases, just 24 moss stitches, ending with 2 single crochets at the end. You don't really need to count if you can tell that where it's the last 2 stitches, which is you'll see it with the last chain space. So do it 12 more times. So this is the first row of 24 moss stitches. If you don't want to keep track, you can use a stitch marker at the beginning of this row to mark that it's the first row of 12 that you need to do before we're done. That way you don't have to think about it. You can just mindlessly work to the end of this project. And again, if you're going to be done this hat soon, I would love for you to post and tag me in your Instagram posts, your stories, etc. I would love to see your work. So I'm going to finish the 12. So I just did 1. I have 11 more to do. I'll meet you back at we're going to end at the top on row 88. And then we're going to put the hat together and we're going to be done. It's so exciting. Okay, I'm going to meet you back at the end. So I'm on the last row, row 88, finishing the last few stitches. Last moss stitch, and then ending it with 2 single crochets. So we're finished the whole piece. This is the front of the head, and we're going to stitch the front row with our last row 88 together, and this makes the back of the hat, and when you turn it around, this is the front of the hat. And so this seam on the back is on the middle part of your head. I think I'm just gonna go with a regular whip stitch. You can finish this off with whatever stitch you like. You could slip stitch the whole seam, or you can whip stitch, or if you want, you could do a mattress seam, although it might get a little bit messy that way. I think I like the look of the whip stitch. So just do this all the way to the bottom. All right, so we finished the back seam. Due to the nature of the first chain, there's a bit of a difference in this section, but that's okay. So I've joined the yarn at the back, the bottom back here, and what we're going to do is we're going to crochet, single crochet around the whole, whole bottom section of the hat. So I've oriented it so that the right side of the stitches will go along this way. So the hat is now upside down, and we're going to crochet all along the ear flap. We're going to do 2 single crochets at each of the corners. Single crochet along there, all along the front, and then back down the ear flap, 2 here, 2 here, and then finish up where we started. Oops, I almost made a moss stitch. Back to the regular single crochets. So you want to go hold your work upside down and then work this way so that your stitches are on the right side. But I guess it doesn't really matter because both sides will look the same. But anyways, this is what I'm doing. So here was that jagged section here. Just gonna crochet over it. So that was the corner there. See, it's now nice and curved. And then go along the bottom. Go along the edge of the ear flap with 1 single crochet in each stitch. Okay. Just wanted to show you at the corner here, we want to do 2 single crochets at the corner. Okay, so we want to do 1, 2, and then work along this edge. Don't worry too much about, okay, here we're going to do 2. Don't worry too much about the number of stitches. We're not counting anymore. So that's pretty. This is the back of the hat, and then we're going to go up the ear flap around the front. I'm going to keep going, and I will join you when we're all done the edging of the single crochets. Alrighty, sorry for the poor lighting. It's kind of a cloudy, rainy day today, so I have the overhead light on. Looks kind of not as pretty as the natural sunlight. But anyways, here's our hat. We've sewed the back seam. This is the front, oopsies. This is the front side. We've crocheted a nice border around the front of the head, a nice border around the back, so it's nice and curved now. Just a note, when you are crocheting around the curve, you might want to do 1 or 2 decreases at the corner. I mean, do like crochet around it and then check to see if you like the curve. If not, take it back out and then do 1 or 2 decreases, whatever works out nicer. So now we are going to sew the top, and we can hide this one. Just sew in this initial tail because we don't need this anymore. Well, we never did. Sometimes I like to leave it because I might use it to sew the seam, but this one's in the middle, so it's not very useful. And when this is something I learned over the past few years that I didn't know about before, but when you sew in your ends, just go back and forth 2 or 3 times, and then this won't come out anymore, and you don't see it on that side. So just a bit of a tip. Cut that. See, it's perfect now. Okay, now we're going to sew the top part of the head. So make sure this seam is down the middle. You could fold it in half, or if you want, you can count. But I think folding it in half is sufficient for me. I think this looks about right. Okay, and then we're going to cut a length of yarn. I like to measure out my yarn to be 2.5 widths whenever I sew stuff, but you could do 3 lengths just to be sure. We can do 3. You just have a longer tail at the end, so 3 times the width of whatever you're sewing. If you want to be on the more modest side, you could do 2.5, but then you might run out, and then that's not good. Okay. So down the middle, I did a whip stitch, and then I think on the top, so down the middle, you could do a whip stitch, you could do a mattress stitch, you could do a ladder stitch, whatever stitch you'd like that you find looks best. But for the top seam, definitely do a whip stitch, because I've tried other stitches and they don't look as nice. So go through that. And then we'll weave in that end later. That's my puppy whining. She's not happy about where I've put her. Okay, so we're at the very end of this top seam. I like to go over it 2 times at the end, just to be more secure. And then you can weave that end inside. And then do the same thing like before, and go back and forth. Make sure you skip a stitch, otherwise you're just gonna undo it. Just go one more time. There we go. And then skip that. Okay. I'll do the same to this first end. I won't bother showing you that part because you get the hang of it. Yay, so we're done. So you're thinking, oh, it's like a square. How's this going to give me those ears? So the way it's going to sit on your head, this is around the forehead. This is, your head is kind of a rounded shape. So when you put the top of your head to this top edge, and then your head is here, these will form ears. Now, if you want more pronounced ears, you can sew another seam kind of circular down the sides. That's up to you, that's optional. But otherwise, we are done. So here's one ear flap. Here's the other ear flap. We're all finished. Thank you for crocheting along with me. I hope you've enjoyed the pattern, the tutorial. If you'd like to support me as a crochet artist, my pattern is on my Etsy shop, madebycana.etsy.com. And again, would love to see your work. If you tag me on your social media, they're all made by Kana. And I hope, excuse me, hope to see you next time. Bye.